Today's video is inspired by this brave flower that blooms in the middle of winter and spring through the snowstorm. Just look at this weather, and this is melted right now, but like a week ago we had a much bigger snow, and here it is, fully recovered and going through it very, very nicely. This is Hellebores, spelled in a few different ways. It is also called winter rose, Christmas rose, or Lenten rose, but it doesn't have anything to do with roses. Hellebores genus belongs to the Ranunculaceae family of flowering plants and is relative to buttercups, ranunculus, and clematis. Various species of Hellebores genus originate in Europe and/or Asia. These plants have been bred extensively to create a multiplicity of garden varieties or hybrids varying in colors and appearances. Hellebores makes a wonderful addition to a flower garden for many, many reasons. The plants have attractive leathery foliage, and the flowers vary in color from snow white to midnight blue, depending on the variety. Hellebores is a perennial, which means it comes back and blooms reliably year after year. It can take up to 4 years to establish a Hellebores seedling in your garden, but once it's established, it will keep delighting you with a happy-looking clump of foliage and multiple stems of flowers for many years to come. Our plants here were planted more than 15 years ago, and they're still going strong. Mature plants can reach about 2 feet height and 3 feet across. Most likely, not much more. These plants are not aggressive. They stay content in their designated place. They do seed themselves, spreading seeds around. Then it's your choice what you want to do with the young sprouts. Dig them up to start new plants, weed them out, or cut the spent flowers in time to prevent seeds from spreading. I always wanted to have more Hellebores plants around, but most of our young seedlings never survived our hot, dry summers with poor irrigation, so I had to buy new young plants to extend my Hellebores community. Quite a few of them are doing so well now, including these babies transplanted from under our own parent bush. Hellebores are extremely cold hardy, and most varieties are able to withstand temperatures down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Most Hellebores plants are evergreen in USDA hardiness zones 4 through 9, meaning they retain their green foliage through the winter. Hellebores blooms from late November through winter until spring, sometimes through June, depending on the species or hybrid. The flowers we have here on our property in California Foothills Zone 9A come into bloom in February with daffodils and cyclamens, when snowdrops only show their very tips from under the dirt. They deal with snowfall quite well, springing back into the air from under the blanket of snow when it melts down. Hellebores flower heads tip down, yet because they have long sturdy stems, they make a nice cut flower that can last in a vase for several weeks, as long as they receive a good water source soon after cutting. Hellebores can tolerate a wide variety of soils. Our plants had been growing in hard clay no problem, with minimal irrigation during hot, dry California summers, swamped by constant cold rains in winter. They do have preferences, of course. Generally, they enjoy slightly neutral to acidic soils, and good drainage is a must. Hellebores tolerates a wide range of lighting conditions, from almost full sun to almost full shade, but it performs at its best in partial shade. Care for these plants is simple. Deadheading or pruning spent flowers after the blooming period and removing old beaten up leaves in winter or whenever you see a dying leaf will improve the plant's appearance. Occasional feeding is a good idea. And don't overwater. It encourages root rot. Hellebores plants take underwatering much better than overwatering. Plants in the Hellebores genus don't have a lot of enemies in the world of insects. There is a Hellebore leaf miner fly that attacks cultivars of Hellebores fetidus, or stinking Hellebore, and that can be taken care of by pruning off and burning all leaves in winter before the fly would emerge from its larva stage buried in leaves. There is a Hellebore aphid, or green fly, that could occasionally attack a weak plant and could be dealt with by manually cleaning the aphids off the plant or using insecticide. In my 15 years of growing my Hellebore plants, I've never seen them being attacked by any insect, even when they are stressed by heat and drought. And what's more good news, Hellebores is deer and rabbit resistant, and that's because all Hellebores plants are toxic, and all parts of the Hellebores plant are toxic. Ingestion of any part of the plant can cause severe symptoms and even death. If a sensitive bare skin rubs against Hellebore plants for too long, it can cause skin irritation or dermatitis. Thus, wearing gloves while working with these plants is recommended. I've never known this before, and rarely wore gloves while pruning my plants. Nothing ever happened to my hands. But it's good to be aware of the plant toxicity and to protect yourself during prolonged handling of the plants. On the upside, the toxicity of the plant is what protects them. Deer and rabbits, moles and gophers will not touch these plants. And if you, like me, live in a deer and rabbit populated area, you know all too well how valuable it is for a garden. One thing to keep in mind though, as a member of the buttercup family, Hellebores is toxic to all animals. While its unpleasant taste stops dogs from eating it, puppies may chew on the plant just because they chew on everything. Watch for symptoms such as vomiting and diarrhea, drooling and lethargy. Look at your plants. If there is any noticeable damage, it's best to keep your puppies away from your Hellebores plants for a while. We had puppies here on the property running around plants for quite a few years and nothing ever happened, yet it's good to be watchful and aware. Hellebores are considered slow-growing plants that can take up to 18 months to reach their mature size. A fully grown plant will commonly spread out between 1 to 3 feet, depending on the variety and growing conditions. It can be divided then into smaller plants if you can dig it up easily without much damage to the clump. The best time to do it would be after the plant finished blooming. Wash the dirt off the root ball before making the cuts so you can see clearly where to make them. Plant the cuttings immediately. I planted my young Hellebore seedlings that I purchased on Etsy in November. This is kinda late in the season. Some died from root rot, but most of them showed new growth in 2 to 3 months. I can't wait to see the explosion of growth when the warmer weather comes. This concludes our Hellebores video. Browse my channel and subscribe if you find something interesting and useful here. Feel free to add anything else you know about Hellebores from your personal experience in the comments below the video. Your contributions are appreciated.